Hello, everyone. My name is Jamie Westman, and I'm the Social Media Director here at HouseHunt. We would like to welcome you all to our webinar, How to Break into the Luxury Market, and are very excited about what our panelists plan to share with you today. We will be muting everyone so we have no background noise, and then we'll open it back up for a Q&A session at the end of the webinar. There is also a chat feature you will see on your right-hand side that you can write your questions in at any time during the webinar. We will try to get to them all, but if we don't, we will be sure to answer your questions and email you back answers after the webinar has ended. So let's meet our panelists. Joy Bender has closed gross commissions of over $475,000, representing both buyers and sellers from the Internet. In the previous 26 months, $332,000 was made just from HouseHunt-generated leads. Joy currently represents 14 HouseHunt territories in the San Diego metro area and has 3 buyer's agents on her team. Joy has a pipeline of 1,400 actively searching home buyers in her online contact management system. Joy has earned the Luxury Home Marketing Institute's $1 Million Guild status, Certified Luxury Home Marketing Specialist, and NAR's Certified International Property Specialist designation. She plans to share with us how to break into the high end of your market, how to be recognized as a market expert, and her systems for success. Welcome, Joy Bender.
Thank you, Jamie. Hi, everyone.
Next, we have Jack Cotton, luxury real estate expert. Jack Cotton has worked continually in the real estate company he started in his college dormitory room 40 years ago. In 2005, Jack sold his company to Sotheby's International Realty. He managed the firm's Cape Cod offices while working with select clients until he stepped down as manager in 2008. Currently, Jack is back to being an agent while working on various writing projects. Over the years, Jack has been involved in most of the record-breaking luxury residential sales on Cape Cod, either directly or as a coach to the agent involved. His books, Selling Luxury Homes, 12 Secrets Luxury Home Buyers Know, and 12 Secrets Luxury Home Sellers Know are all Amazon.com bestsellers. We are excited to welcome Jack Cotton.
Jamie, thank you so much for inviting me here today, and Joy, it's great to be sharing a platform with you. Should we get started?
Yes.
Okay, let's start and talk about my favorite subject, which is luxury real estate. So a lot of people say, gosh, why would I want to get into luxury real estate? What is so exciting about it? Well, first of all, I can think of no other career path I could have taken where I would meet such interesting, accomplished, and successful people. I mean, the people you run into on a day-to-day basis when you're working in luxury real estate are corporate CEOs. Once in a while, they're people of note, famous people, or they're business owners, really incredible people that you can learn a lot from. Secondly, of course, you can earn great fees because, quite frankly, as you'll learn from our session here today, many times it's no more difficult to sell an expensive home than it is to sell a smaller one. In fact, many times it's actually easier to sell the more expensive properties. But my favorite part of the business, I have to admit, is the properties I get to see and experience. It's funny, every day I wake up in my house and I think, oh, this is a pretty cool house. I have a little water view. I've got 5 acres. I've got this. I've got that. But then by the end of the day, I come home and I'm like, what a dump. I can't believe I live in this house after seeing all the incredible houses that we have for sale here. For example, here's one we sold last year for nearly $20 million. And what's remarkable about this house is that the lady, the owner, who's over 100 years old, in fact, she's about to turn 103, is an avid gardener and landscape designer. Well, her best friend years ago happened to be the First Lady of the United States of America, and one day she was visiting her at the White House, and she looked out the window, I think of the Oval Office, and said, that's really a very unattractive piece of ground down there. Why don't you let me design a garden? So she did, and we all know it today as the Rose Garden. Well, the lady who designed the Rose Garden for her best friend designed the 20 acres of grounds around this property that were just extraordinary, and is now home to a new family. One more property I wanted to share with you is this really cool house built in the 1890s, really old, but the current owner has gone through it and everything in it is brand new. Overlooks the water, has 9 acres. Check out the pool it has. They were on vacation in France and they saw this big construction project underway, and apparently they were digging down in some small town outside of Paris, and they found a road made out of old marble or stone. So these people had the road dug up and cleaned up and shipped over to here, and that's what you see surrounding this pool. The pool cost over $3.5 million to build, never mind the rest of the house. And that really is a lot of the fun. And what's really fun is cashing the checks after they sell. I have to admit that as well. So what is the secret to getting started in luxury real estate? Well, if you can possibly pull it off, being born rich and well-connected is the absolute best way to get started in luxury real estate. And I have to admit, that was my plan. That was my whole strategy for getting started in luxury real estate. My parents were extremely rich, extremely well-connected, and I remember lying there in my little thing at the hospital with a big smile on my face thinking about my future career in luxury real estate. As soon as I could get out of this crib and get these diapers off and learn how to drive, I was going to be a luxury real estate specialist. I was so pumped. Now, I'm not going to bore you with all the details here today because our time together is short. But through some strange tragedy, some strange chain of events that I still to this day do not understand, there was a mix-up at the hospital, and I went home with the poor family. So the strategies I'll share with you today will work for you if you were not born rich and well-connected. And in fact, that whole idea of being born rich and well-connected is what keeps a lot of agents on the sidelines of the luxury real estate business. They think you have to be born rich, you have to be born well-connected, or you have to be a great golfer. And I will admit at this point that being a great golfer is a good way to create a beachhead in luxury real estate. In my case, I never made it past caddy, so that path didn't work for me. You know, a lot of people try to get started in luxury real estate with what I call some false starts. For example, just getting in front of any seller, anytime, any place, some luxury seller, and overpricing the property, or overpromising, or over-leveraging, maxing out their credit cards and promising all kinds of crazy marketing and advertising and print and media and video and all that stuff. Or they might even decide to undercharge everyone else on a marketing fee basis to get the listing. Or I've seen it where people do a combination of two or even all three of these things or all four of these items to get their start in luxury real estate. In my opinion, these approaches lack integrity because one thing that people in the high end really treasure, they really look for, is integrity, is discretion, is proficiency and expertise. And if you're purposely giving people misinformation for the sole purpose of getting a listing, that is not going to work long term. So let's talk about a more positive route that can lead to more positive results. Now, I began, as you heard, it'll be 40 years ago in May of 2014, 4 decades in real estate. This is my first office. I knew so much from the beginning of real estate, I didn't have to work for anyone else. I had this desk in a corner of my father's plumbing supply warehouse. And it was pathetic. It was so sad. I used to make my own signs. That's how bad it is. And through the years, I made all kinds of false starts and wrong turns and detours and, didn't really like to ask anybody anything else. So it took a long time. My learning curve was rather shallow. But I finally got it together and became successful in luxury real estate. And I've broken down the process into 7 steps that we can all follow, that we can all use as our roadmap. And I'm going to give you an overview of the 7 steps right now so that you can create your own roadmap to become a luxury real estate specialist. So let's begin here. The first step is to map your market. And that sounds pretty simple, but you need to know where you want to work. So you need to map your market, create some benchmarks, and establish expertise that other people value, other people being high net worth individuals. I call them here high net HNWIs. So benchmarks are, what are things selling for per square foot? Or what are things selling for per front foot? Or what are things selling for as a percentage of their property tax assessment? You need to establish some benchmarks in your area. And are there people of note in your marketplace? Who built the houses in the marketplace you want to specialize in? Who designed the homes that are in the marketplace you want to specialize in? You need to become an expert in your market. You need to create a 2-year history, which I'll talk about more in a second. But when we're talking about high net worth individuals, I've identified 4 categories. I won't go into the details of each and every one, but I call them the wannas, the kindas, the reallys, and the supers. And they all have their little individual characteristics and unique attributes. But let's talk about the common traits that we can find among all 4 categories of wealthy people. It's helpful for us to know with whom we'll be dealing. First of all, you might find it interesting to know that only 5% of the United States population qualifies as being rich if you define rich as having $1 million in net worth. That is a small percentage of the U.S. population. However, Most financial planners and investment advisors have a more stringent definition, and their definition is having $1 million of assets, not including the value of your primary home. This cuts it down to about 1% of people in the United States of America who qualify as being rich. That is a small slice of our society. They typically will spend like crazy on one or two things, and they'll often be cheap on other stuff. We were talking yesterday about the fact that, people arrive here on Cape Cod in a 25 or 30 or 40 or $60 million plane, and they have a 30-year-old car, so oftentimes even a Subaru or an old Ford station wagon. They'll spend like crazy on one or two things, and they'll be really cheap on other stuff. They'll even take soap out to a hotel and bring it home. We have people here in the Northeast, which is a little bit more conservative, that really look down their nose at people who spend a lot of money on cars. Like if you drive a Bentley or something, people think, oh, what's he trying to do? But if you spend $1 million on a boat, nobody even bats an eye. But they like to be unique. They hate to be manipulated. They don't want to be played. Again, they want integrity. So when we think about creating our marketing plan and creating our listing presentation, we need to keep these definitions in mind so that we can cater to them and give them what it is that they want. So talking a little bit more about market mapping, my suggestion, if you're breaking into either luxury real estate completely, or in some cases, people are already successful in luxury real estate, but they want to break into a new luxury real estate market that's adjacent or near to the one they're already working in, start by creating a 2-year history of every property that exists in that marketplace. Who owns it? How big is it? When did it last sell? What did it sell for? Again, what were the benchmarks? My favorite benchmark here are assessment ratios. That won't work in every single state, like Florida and California probably is an exception, but you need to find a benchmark. Absorption rates. What are the the price per something, price per square foot, price per front foot, price per acre, price per something, so that you can establish some benchmarks that will help you in advising people about the pricing of their property. Who are the prevalent builders and architects? And again, who are the people of note in your marketplace? As an example, here's an island just south of where I am on Cape Cod where we did some market mapping. All the yellow pins of this map represent a property that sold for $5 million or more. And next to each pin, we have a spreadsheet that corresponds to each pin so that we know the name, the buyer, the seller, the acreage, the price, the date, and a little bit about the property and the person. So that's how you map your market. One agent that I've been coaching sent me a picture of his wall in his office where he actually had the maps, the assessment maps, the town maps blown up and put on the wall of his office so he could see exactly what's going on in his marketplace. So step one is to map your market. Number two is remembering that high net worth individuals like to be unique. They hate to be manipulated. They don't want to be one of the pack. We need to be unique and different ourselves. So we need to develop unique selling propositions that will create value in the minds of the people who we're endeavoring to serve. I call it sweating the USP. Some people have heard of SWOT analysis, but I call it sweat analysis, which is strengths, weaknesses, everything they do, and turn it around. What can we turn around? Now, again, the Reader's Digest version here, if I'm going up against a luxury competitor in a new luxury market, and for example, their weakness or everything they do might include never showing their own property, well, I'm going to turn that around into one of my USPs to say that I always am present for every showing of your property. I accompany all showings. In fact, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, except for you, no one's going to know your property better than I do. It's critical that I'm there for every single showing. One, to provide security for your property, but two, to make sure that there's no misinformation, and in fact, all the great attributes of your property are properly conveyed. So we sweat the leaders. What are their strengths? What are their weaknesses? What can we turn around that they're currently doing and turn them into our own USPs? Okay. Step three is to turn gatekeepers into allies. People in the high end, affluent people, all have gatekeepers. And a lot of people, a lot of agents who are breaking into luxury real estate, they hear the name gatekeeper, they think of guard or bouncer. This person's keeping me away from the people who I want to serve. They're an obstacle to what I want to do. We need to learn to make gatekeepers our allies by bringing them value and making them look good in front of their high net worth individual clients. And we do that by marketing to them the expertise we gave when we mapped our market. First of all, the areas of expertise we need to develop are expertise in markets and value, pricing, market preparation. Some people call it staging. I like to call it market preparation. We have to become experts in marketing. We have to become experts in negotiating. And you can get designations like your CRS, your CFP, or your luxury home marketing expert designation to sort of abbreviate or codify all these areas of expertise you have gleaned. But these are the 5 areas of expertise people in high-end really look for. They want experts in every aspect of their lives. They have medical experts, they have legal experts, they have tax experts. They want to deal with someone who they perceive is a real estate expert. And you can become, the whole goal here is to actually become their trusted advisor. So once we have this expertise that we gain from mapping our market, we can, here's some examples of gatekeepers. Stop this one. Attorneys, CPAs, trust officers, and investment advisors. Now, these are people we can market to when we have the expertise we gain from mapping our market, because they are fixated on the tax consequences that their high net worth individual clients are subjected to, especially property taxes and inheritance taxes. The way that people in the high end avoid or reduce their inheritance taxes and property taxes are oftentimes to put the properties in trusts. They do corporations. They do all kinds of things. But the common denominator is they need CMAs every single year. About this time, as a matter of fact, because tax time is coming up in April. So now is the time that we are swamped with CMAs for our gatekeepers in this marketplace, because they need an up-to-date valuation of the property every single year for their trust filings. And then oftentimes, they also need fair rental CMAs. What's the rented value of the property? Because a lot of times, a high net worth client will rent the property from a trust. So they need fair market rental values done every single year. So when you have this expertise you gain from mapping the market, you can market that expertise to the gatekeepers and make their jobs easier by supplying those CMAs to their clients. And now your name is the one that is becoming more visible with those high net worth individuals. Obviously, there's writing, and Joy's going to talk a lot about conveying your expertise through writing and speaking to local clubs, charities, organizations. For example, when you speak at a Rotary Club, who's typically in attendance? Attorneys, CPAs, trust officers, and investment advisors. You're talking to the gatekeepers, and you want to convey your expertise there. Step number 4 is to always exceed expectations by having a process for everything. You know, when you show up at a Ritz-Carlton hotel to check in, the person behind the desk doesn't say, "Oh my goodness, somebody wants to check in. What should I do next?" They have a process. Affluent clients demand consistency, dependability, and they want results. And you can't do any of this without having a system and a process. I, for example, have a pre-listing process. Because of the pre-listing book, the cover of it is right there. But I want people to know me even before they get to meet me. I want to make my first appointment to be more like my second appointment. So we deliver this right before our first appointment. And the pre-listing presentation is really designed to set the expectations of the high net worth individual. I tell them what's going to happen before the appointment, how I prepared for it, what's going to happen during the appointment, what's going to happen between the first appointment and the second appointment, and what's going to happen on the second appointment, and including their signing of a listing agreement. And if you want a copy of my pre-listing presentation, you can send me an email, and I'll send you a PDF version of it. But process is critical. For pre-listing, I use a 2-step listing process, as you heard. And quite frankly, there's a little bit of performance art in the whole listing process. When I walk through and I tell the sellers, first thing we're going to do is we're going to talk, then you're going to show me your property, then I'm going to go back through it again and measure and dictate every detail of your property, and then I'll answer any questions you have. Then I'll have the information I need to go ahead and create a marketing plan and start my CMA. So it's really almost like performance art when you're on a listing presentation. Step number 5 is really what I call the big O. And aside from thinking that you need to be born rich and well-connected, the big O is what holds most agents back when they think about getting into luxury real estate. Big O stands for that objection. And you can imagine what it is. Hey, Jack, how many homes have you sold over $1 million in my area? How many homes have you listed over $1 million? Have you ever listed a home in my area? And the fear that agents have of hearing this question sends them over the edge such that they don't even want to get into the luxury real estate business because they have no idea how they're going to handle that objection. The way I suggest you handle this objection is to don't run, don't hide, hit it head on. I talk about, Mr. Seller, we do limited edition real estate. I'm only going to take blank numbers of listings, and that's it, and our capacity is that we want to give every single person professional and limited edition service. We limit the number of listings we can take. But if I'm breaking into a new market, a place where I've never listed a house before, which I did a year ago when I went to a new market, and I was at a $14 million house, and the seller said, how many homes have you listed in my market? And I said, none. How many homes have you sold in my market? And I said, actually, I have not sold any in your market. In fact, I didn't say this to him, but I thought to myself, I've never even been here before except for one time on a bike ride. So here's, what do we say? Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I'm here to make my mark in luxury real estate on your property. In fact, every move I make, every breath I take is going to be focused on getting your property sold. It's going to be the first thing I think about every single morning, and it'll be the last thing I think about every night before I go to sleep. In fact, I'm not going to take one more luxury listing in your marketplace until your property is under agreement. You'll be so thrilled with my service and the results I get for you that you won't be able to wait to refer me to your friends and your associates. How does it feel, Mr. and Mrs. Owen, to have somebody so focused, so committed, so driven to get your property sold? And it works. I've done it. Step number 6 is your first listing. Again, to get your first listing, you've got to have a killer pre-listing presentation and a killer listing presentation, and that requires more process. So again, I like a 2-step process. I really think that even if I know everything I need to know about the property before, the first appointment, part of my showmanship, part of my performance art is not telling them until the second appointment. It creates a greater sense of value on my whole process, and it makes them hang on the edge of their seats longer. So it's a very important part of that process. But my listing presentation is broken down into 3 sections. The stuff that everybody does in real estate, signs, MLS, internet, and so forth. The stuff that my company does. But then what are your USPs? What are the things that you do that are different and better than everyone else? And that's what we did when we sweated our USPs a couple steps ago. I'll give you some examples of that for my own listing presentation when we get to step 7. And here we are. Step 7 is to get that property sold and tell the world. So some of the things I have in my own listing presentation are the fact that we just don't do a brochure for your property. We do a hardcover book. We can make these through Shutterfly. Here's an example here in the photograph you can see on your screen. A lot of people do brochures. Not many people do hardcover brochures. We talk about photos. Everyone takes photos of property, but no one does it the way we do it. We do what's called HDR. It's a high dynamic range photography. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, you should see my photographer. You should see his camera. In fact, here's a picture of his camera right here. You can't believe there's buttons and dials and readouts all over this thing. My photographer is an expert on working this camera. She can make it do anything she wants it to do. But you know what? I've been doing luxury real estate for blank years, and I know what makes a buyer's eyes light up when they walk in the front door of a property. So I help the photographer frame those pictures so that she gets the best angles, the best views, the best aspects of that property so that I can make a buyer's eyes light up when they're seeing a property online. In other words, I'm art directing that photographer who's a great technician, but I'm the one who knows how to direct the photography so your property looks in its best light. Then we talked about the importance of the internet, and we were discussing amongst ourselves before this session began how important it is to be high-tech today, and Joy's going to talk a ton about that. She's just such an expert on this aspect of real estate marketing. But if you're not online, you're going to be in the breadline, is what I like to say. So we'll talk more about internet marketing shortly. But don't forget, not just because I'm an old guy, but direct mail is still important in the high end. In fact, in my own personal business, the more other people go high-tech, the more I'm working back towards high-touch. So to me, cutting down trees to make beautiful brochures and hardcover books and nice mailers is a critical aspect of my business. I use technology to allow me to be efficient and stay on top of everything and to create a great customer experience. But at the same time, high touch is important for me as well. The last thing I talk about in my listing presentation is the importance of video. And again, just like with photography, quality is critical. You can't walk through a house, a multi-million-dollar property with your iPhone taking video. You've got to hire a good videographer to do that. They need to be the ideal length. If you can possibly keep your videos at around 3 minutes, that's the ideal length. You want to title your videos for search engine optimization. And one thing to think about is if you have narration in your videos. A lot of my videos have no narration, and some do. But you always want to have a transcript of your narration and post that on YouTube along with your video, because that helps with SEO also. The bottom line is consumers in all price ranges, especially at the high end, love anything that has a play button on it. So don't ignore video. The challenge with video is to give them enough information so they want to see the property, but not so much that they don't think they can skip seeing that property and move on to the next one. So those are my 7 steps. I'm going to turn it over to Joy now, who's going to talk to us about how she broke into the high end of her luxury market. Hi, Joy.
Thank you, Jack. A little about my background. When I relocated to San Diego 3 years ago from Minneapolis, I thought that the only way for me to break into the real estate market with no personal network was through the Internet. You can actually go to the next slide. I also knew that I wanted to specialize in luxury real estate. I spent the previous 12 years as one of the top lenders in Minnesota, specializing in first-time homebuyers and government lending. Through that experience, I realized 2 things. First, it's important to build a personal brand and niche. Second, whatever you become known for is what your business evolves into. It made sense with my second business opportunity here in San Diego to get grounded in luxury versus first-time homebuyers. With HouseHunt, I grossed $332,105 in the previous 26 months with a return on investment of 723%. Our current business is structured with 14 HouseHunt sites, as well as an SEO-driven personal website. I now have a partner and 3 buyer's agents. It wasn't until third quarter last year that many of the San Diego HouseHunt territories opened up, which gave us opportunity to expand our team. We do have a blend of price points, both luxury and mid-tier. We have found that the high-end purchase is oftentimes discretionary, especially here along the coast with many vacation and investment property purchases, and not necessary, whereas in the mid-tier price points, we find more families looking for a home before the school year starts. I've also had to learn to not hoard the leads, and by delegating them, we'll have more growth in 2014. Image is everything. Your online image is extremely important, from your picture to your bio, accreditations, and affiliations. When you work an online business, you're being spied on at all times by your prospects. They're either appreciative of your accomplishments and the image you portray, or not that impressed at all. All of your social media profiles should match with the same bio and picture. A clean, comfortable car is necessary for showing buyers. However, appropriate transportation is necessary depending on who your clients are. Last fall, we had the opportunity of taking out 3 of the new drafts from San Diego charters, and we ended up having to rent an XL SUV. If you're new to the market or less experienced, NAR designations, certifications that will improve your sales and negotiation skills, and other earned credentials elevate your image. The Institute for Luxury Home Marketing offers the Certified Luxury Home Marketing Specialist designation through both their training and qualifying sales, as well as the $1 Million Deal designation for qualifying sales. The Luxury Home Council offers a luxury training and luxury agent accreditation, and of course Jack has a luxury agent academy that he'll share more about towards the end of the call. If you don't happen to work for a brokerage with a strong international exposure, the International Real Estate Federation FIAPSI U.S. chapter offers a membership you can buy into, about $280 a year. NAR's International Property Specialist designation can help elevate an agent at an individual level with international exposure as well. Community knowledge. The next step before you hit the phones with your internet leads is a crash course in community knowledge. I spent numerous hours studying San Diego County, just as one would approach a college course. Many people don't realize that San Diego is actually the size of the state of Connecticut. This broad knowledge is important when talking to relocation clients, wanting a broad overview based on where their employment will be located and their lifestyle needs. You then need to drill down into each community. Where are the country clubs? What are the fees and membership levels? What are the top private schools, which are religiously affiliated? Where are the top boarding and equestrian facilities located? It's also important to stay up to date on the community enhancements to roads, beaches, and new public schools, as well as future coming community enhancements or environmental issues. Having a strong knowledge base is important on the very first phone call with a lead because you use these facts to subliminally assure them that you are the community expert in your area and the best choice for their real estate needs. The lead arrives. When the lead arrives, it's important to call immediately with high energy, be brief, and ask open-ended questions. You should have your MLS up on your computer because the best case scenario is to begin asking questions about one of the properties you saw while on your website. Don't ever ask is this a good time because most likely they'll think of an excuse to get you off the phone. If the lead is a female, assume it's Jamie, your lead, that answers. Asking is this Jamie is a way for them to hang out without listening to your message. They might think you are trying to sell them something. Confirm you have the best phone number to reach them at. Try to get their cell phone if this is an office or a home number. You also want to get their mailing address. We found that snail mail is a very important piece of our lead conversion. Finally, ask for their spouse or significant other's first name. This is important because you can add them to the correspondence and add them to the TIM system and your database. First phone call. Use this opportunity to find out what's most important to the lead about the property they're buying. Is it to have an ocean view? Is it to have horses on their own land versus boarding them elsewhere? Or is it to get their children into the specific school system? Oftentimes the client gives an exhaustive list of must-haves, but there is one fundamental need that must be met, and some of the other items on the wish list can be negotiated. Confirm timeframes and attendance. It's important to understand the timeframes if they're not local, whether they plan on making their next trip out to look at property. You want to know if you found the right home, are you ready to buy today? How will they be purchasing? We always ask, are you an all-cash buyer? The prospect is often flattered, and it opens up the financing question, whereupon we can introduce our preferred lender. It's then important to end the call with next steps, which often include a promise on our behalf of information to research and properties to forward. One of the most common immediate objections we receive is, I already have an agent. And I will admit, when I first started working internet leads, I would say, I'm sorry to hear that. If anything changes, please let me know, and I'd hang up the phone. But now our response is, I appreciate your loyalty. Over 80% of our clients already have a real estate agent in mind and we begin working together. This is actually a pretty true statistic. I mean, very true. I have one of the most successful real estate teams in San Diego. For the amount of business we do, our relationships with San Diego brokers are very strong, and we constantly get heads up on pre-market property. It has helped many of our clients gain access to non-MLS pocket listings. Is this something that would be of value to you? I then get them to agree with our next step so that we can continue our marketing process with why don't we agree to keep an open mind. The other objection we often get is just beginning my search. They use us to rush us off the phone. Like, there's no reason to really have a phone conversation. They're just beginning to browse online. We celebrate this long process by answering enthusiastically. Many of our clients are just in the preliminary stages of researching homes when we first meet. I'm happy to help you when the time is right. You'll notice an immediate softening of the prospect as they realize that you're not trying to push them into buying today, and the conversation can resume. You're not the only one. It's imperative to understand that even though HouseHunt leads are exclusive, your internet leads are on your site this morning. By the next day, they're on Zillow, Trulia, a rented rebate agent, or another local colleague's website. The first 45 days of receiving the lead are the most important with every marketing piece that is sent and every communication that occurs to help solidify the relationship. Only 3% of all leads are going to close in the first 4 months. Therefore, to maintain the attention of the other 97% who's the real estate agent of choice, you cannot be sloppy, lazy, or unintentional with your system. High tech, high touch. As I mentioned prior, snail mail is the #1 way to accomplish proving you are the real estate agent of choice. We use papyrus cards. They have numerous designs and sell them in box sets. They do have some retail stores. You can check that out on their website or ship directly to your office. We use also research reports to send bi-weekly specific market reports. Numerous leads actually respond to the Altos report who have never returned a phone call message or responded to any other email. All leads get entered into the TIM system through HouseHunt, but also into our personal website's IDX. And the other reason we do that is to improve our SEO as well. However, keep in mind this is just a manual drip. I have all the IPs on a personal search through the Realtor MLS system that sends me listings directly, daily or immediately, depending on how hot the lead is, so I can look at the property first before I forward it. Sometimes a client may say they want privacy with no houses behind them or over them, and you can't really enter that type of search criteria into the MLS. It might even take a phone call to the listing agent before you forward that property on to the client. High-touch marketing, before I mentioned the Institute for Limited Home Marketing, you start out with an annual membership, which gives access to initial training, monthly webinars, and the marketing materials. And then after qualified sales, you can become certified and or earn the $1 Million Guild. So as you can see on the slide here, when a high-end lead receives a nicely designed business card in the business card jacket with a handwritten message written on vellum with a Gold Institute for Limited Home Marketing seal, you've accomplished standing out from any other realtor, in most cases competing with your lead. Talking to the moon. High net worth individuals are successful people and very busy. They often do not respond courteously to your emails, texts, and calls. But they are watching and listening, and they will let you know when you can be of assistance. Therefore, you must never give up. Be very careful with your follow-up. You don't want to be too overly ambitious and irritate them either. I have a wonderful example of this. This just happened today. We had a lead who is a local biotech CEO. The last time we showed him a property was July of last year in a $7.5 million house ranch in Santa Fe. I probably attempted at least 25 contact attempts beyond the IDX and the Ultra strip that he's on via text of individual properties, direct property emails. We sent him Christmas cards, voicemails, and I received no proof of life until this morning. Actually, we started worrying that maybe they decided to work with another real estate agent. A new listing came on this morning that fits their needs perfectly. I forwarded over via text with the link to look at it directly online. And I received a response, can we see it today at 4 p.m.? This reinforces every effort and attempt is worthwhile. So you should never give up on a lead is the essential message there. Listing updates. One of the best ways to communicate with an uncommunicative client is through responding to the listings that they look at. And I would add that that's part of the 25 contact attempts because I would look at them in their IDX and I would see that they were looking at certain properties. You log into your MLS system, maybe try to find a video on YouTube, any confidential remarks to share, such as seller moved out of the state, highly motivated, any extra information that you can piggyback on to something that they've shown interest in. Next is getting published. Writing articles and having them published is an excellent talking point with leads and a great follow-up piece to send as part of your lead conversion system. I've written a series of real estate articles on market conditions and statistics and then sent them out as press releases. You want to make sure your articles are interesting to the public, not about you, or the article will not have legs and it will not be newsworthy. I've gotten one listing and earned 2 segments on our local San Diego Fox 5 from my various press releases. And you'll see on the screen we've negotiated a 15% off discount with ereleases.com using promo code HouseHunt15. The next is prepare for showings. As you move up in price point, your client's expectations and impatience increases. I closed a $2.85 million lead off of HouseHunt because the agent that the buyer was working with previously failed to prove she was an expert in the area of interest. And I'll admit to you that I was far from an expert either. It was literally like my third client that I started working with. Their confidence failed in her ability to find them a house because she kept getting lost on their route. You cannot afford to rely on your GPS because in certain areas it could fail you. We always drive the route to this day, the day before, so we know exactly where the driveway is. And imagine losing $71,000 because you did not take the extra time to prepare. So to add to that story, I would literally drive the route from my house 3 times back and forth before they'd arrive from the airport to make sure that I didn't get lost. Also use a listing agent as a learning guide if you're not 100% familiar with the subdivision or community. Have a clipboard with pen at all showings to take notes because you'll learn invaluable community knowledge from the listing agent. And you can either, a lot of times we'll take that information home and enter it into our website on the specific community page. The next is property knowledge. When showing high-end properties, you should have comparable sales ready to to discuss for each showing. You never know which of the properties you view that day may be the one they want to write on. Calculate the price per square foot. Make notes that adjust this basis, such as the view, lot location, single story, and finishes. If you're showing condominiums, find out how many buildings and units are in the complex, what and where are the community facilities, what is the guest parking policy, what is the policy for renting out the units for long or short term, what is included in the HOA, are there currently any pending assessments or litigation claims, and the percentage of owner occupancy. These are questions your buyer likely would answer if they're interested, and it would be wonderful if you had the answers ready, available. The next, pseudo-rich. Unfortunately, there are many people that pretend they are wealthy and fabricate a richly woven tale of success and affluence. So we find this more frequently when you are working online because it's easy for that to remain anonymous by their pretend world that they're in. It's very important to Google your buyer. If you can't find them on Google or LinkedIn, you should be very suspicious. We tell the prospect prior to scheduling a showing that we need a letter from your banker called a verification of deposit stating his funds in excess of whatever dollar amount that we're looking at, or a copy of your bank statement with the account number blackened out. Make sure that the bank letter actually has a phone number with a representative on it. We've received fraudulent bank statements in the past. Showtime. Be dressed for success in a clean car with premium water. We use the cooler in the trunk with mini sodas and Perrier, energy bars, nuts, and dried fruit. We also use these moleskin folders pictured here to put the comps and property description sheets in. We print the photo gallery from the MLS, so it can tend to be a 7 to 12-page printout for each property that we're looking at on high-quality 28-pound paper stocks. Not only are the moleskin folders beautiful and reusable, but they continue to add to your luxury image, subliminally indicate you work in luxury all the time, and help ensure the showing will lead to more showings and an eventual closed escrow. Post-showing, after taking a luxury buyer out for the first time, we courier a fruit arrangement from edible arrangements the very next day. This gift gets past gated communities without a problem and leaves a lasting impression meant for lead retention. And I will say that the guy that we've got a showing at 4 o'clock this afternoon received a $100 fruit basket after the $7.5 million showing in July. Apparently left a good impression. That's all I have. Jamie, did you want to?
Well, Joy, I just want to say one thing, Joy. I'm cracking up here when you're talking because I have gotten lost with clients in the cars before in my early days. It's so funny. I grew up in this marketplace. I never really learned the market, or never really learned the area until I got into real estate. So I'll admit driving around and aimlessly trying to find a listing for a showing, and I think you're right to go out and prepare and plan your route before you actually do the showing with a live person in your car. So not a fun experience at all.
Definitely.
So now if we'd like to open up for questions, yeah, we can unmute, and if people have questions they want to ask, and you guys can kind of answer some of the questions. I don't think we got any in the chat too much, so we can open up for questions if people have asked.
Jack, did you want to share about the Luxury Agent Academy?
Sure, I can talk a little bit about that. First of all, if you are interested in getting into luxury real estate or just want to enhance your current business career, I created this business plan in Microsoft Excel. You have to have Microsoft Excel for it to work, but just go to luxurybusinessplan.com and you can download the business plan for free. And Joy talked a little bit about our Luxury Agent Academy, which started at the beginning of January, but we're on module 2 now. But if you sign up, you can still, log in and start the first 2 modules and then continue with the training with everybody else who's already in there. But basically it covers the 7 steps we talked about here today, so we devote an hour to each one of them along with a workbook. And each session is broken into 2 or 3 sections so that you can start and stop as you want to. And all the training stays online for at least 1 year, so you can go back as often as you want to review and learn about it. And at the end of each module there's an assignment. And then during the series, there are 2 live 60-minute call-in webinars so you can get one-on-one your questions answered. We charge $1,095 for it, but through HouseHunt, we're able to take $500 off if you enter this code, LAA500, where you go to luxuryagentacademy.com. So that's everything about Luxury Agents Academy.
And I will have to say that just Jack's business plan and his matrices and Excel worksheets are worth the money, just that, not even the training alone. It was very, very valuable.
That's right, you took it. I forgot that.
Yeah, it did.
So, Joy,
I think someone wanted me to go over the past 3 slides. Did I go too quickly?
okay, we can go back to those. And, to see pseudo-rich.
Oh, yeah, I guess, Jack, you wanted it. You had a little bit to add to that, too, experience with that.
Well, yeah, we don't have a ton of problem with it, but we had one recently where just all my alarms are going off. First of all, very few high net worth individuals come to a showing all decked out in their jacket and tie. And just something about the guy. He talked about his yacht. I've never heard a person who owns a yacht refer to his yacht as a yacht. So when somebody talks about my yacht, my alarms are going off all over the place. And it turns out this guy was trying to impress his girlfriend. He came with another broker. But, it's just something you really have to be aware of, that there are some fakers out there. Some of the properties we list, like the one I showed you initially for $19 million, $19 million is a lot of money for a house. But guess what? The artwork in this house was over $60 million. That's $60 million. And by the way, this is a house that the owner used roughly 14 days per year. So even in her house that she spends 14 days a year in, she keeps $60 million worth of paintings hanging around. So you can imagine that a lot of people wanted to get a look inside this house. So we have to do some screening. And quite frankly, these days with the internet, it's very easy to screen people. And I was telling Joy yesterday that if a high net worth individual comes to you, or one who purports to be one, and you can't find anything about them on the internet, it either means that they're really, really, really rich or they're fakers. So typically the script we use, we just had to use it yesterday, as a matter of fact, and somebody who's a little bit suspect is, Mr. Potential Buyer, my seller client likes to know who's coming into his property. Would you mind giving me a little bit of information, such as, where you work, what's your company, what's your background, who's your banker, just very friendly like. And when you frame it from the standpoint of my seller likes to know who's coming into his property or coming into her property, that sort of is a smoother way, and that's something that a real person can certainly understand and identify with.
Okay, so someone is asking about getting designations in high-end real estate. So to start with, the Institute for Luxury Home Marketing is the same company that actually Keller Williams and I know Better Homes and Gardens, there's a few other real estate brokerages that uses that institute to offer their luxury designation within their brokerage. But any of us can get a membership, and so before you earn your sales, if you're just a new agent getting started, you would just be a member. And so your business card jackets wouldn't say Certified Luxury Home Marketing Specialist. They'd say just member of the Institute for Luxury Home Marketing. You still have access to both marketing materials and the webinars and the trainings. You could add that to your website, get the logos and whatnot, put the logos on your cards. And then after you have either 4 qualifying buyer representation sales at the top 10% of your market, or 2 listings, you can become a certified luxury home marketing specialist. You both earn sales, and then if they're over $1 million, I think you had to have 2 over $1 million, you can have the $1 million guild status, which is another logo that you can add to your website. And then the Luxury Home Council offers a luxury training and agent accreditation once you complete both the training and the sales required. The Certified International Property Designation through NAR was actually rather challenging. It was one of the most intensive trainings and tests that I've ever seen in any of the NAR certifications. And you had to have proven sales with people of international background to receive the designation. You even had to have some volunteer work, I believe, in there as well. So it was pretty intensive. It was about $600 or $700 just to pay for the the study material to even get started. So it was actually quite expensive. I think it probably ended here about $1,200 because then after you take your test, then you have to pay to join, which was another $200. But it would definitely be worth checking out, and they have different LinkedIn and Facebook groups to network with other agents to be NAR International Property Specialist. So as far as and then the other final thing was the International the Real Estate Federation FIABC US. It's FIABCI US chapter. That's rather inexpensive. It's only $300, I believe, for individual membership. And you can add that logo to your website, your business cards. You can network. They have actually both them and the Luxury Home Marketing Institute have conventions like twice a year where you can go and network with agents all over the country for referrals. So I think that probably answers that question.
Yeah, I see another question here. It says, what would you recommend for marketing high-end homes? I'm not sure if she means actual marketing ideas or if she's talking budgeting, but what do you think, George? Should we talk about marketing or budgeting?
I'm guessing she's talking about budgeting. She said something about don't over-leverage yourself on a listing.
Okay, yeah, I can only see one line here. Well, basically, if you own a company, if you're a broker, from a company standpoint, ideally, you want to keep your marketing budget at 4.1% of GCI, maybe another 1.4 promotional of your brand, so that's 5.1%. As an agent, you can afford to spend a little bit more because obviously your GCI is going to be smaller because you have a split with a company, and I've seen some agents spend as much as 20%, which I think is crazy, and I see others spend as little as 5%, which is probably not enough. So probably a nice average number for marketing a listing is 10% of the expected commission. Understand, though, that when you list a house, and let's say, just to keep the numbers simple, that you list a house and your expected commission after splits and everything is going to be $10,000. So that means if you choose 10%, you can expend $1,000 on the marketing. Again, I'm just keeping the numbers simple. But the one more step you have to take is to figure how many listings does it take for me to get to one sale. So, for example, if it's 1-to-1, you can afford to spend the whole $1,000 on that one listing. If you're listing two properties to sell one, now you can only afford to spend $500 per listing to stay within that budget. So again, the numbers are artificial to keep the math simple, but budgeting is critical because it's so easy to get caught up in spending lots of money on marketing your high-end listings. But 10% as an agent is a really good number to use, I think. Let's see. Joy, there's a question here about how to use HouseHunt to connect or focus on the luxury market. I think that would be a good one to answer.
Territory is very important, but we did structure this webinar to mean the high end of your market because I'm from Minneapolis, and Minneapolis, the high end would be the lake homes or some semi-custom homes.
Right.
That's the high end of that area, or if they live outside.
How do you use HouseHunt to connect with your luxury market?
Well, I use HouseHunt to get the leads, and then I run with it from there through the outside sources, if that makes sense. To, they continue in the HouseHunt system. I don't ever take them out. I leave them in there to get all the HouseHunt marketing and postcards and everything that they have set up through and I set them up on the drip campaign. But then I take them outside of that and then send them additional stuff, such as the Altos research reports and those types of more high-end, more elaborate marketing pieces. Does that answer that?
Yeah, works for me. Someone else wanted to know where they can get the spreadsheet. So here's the website for the business plan spreadsheet. Joy, one thing I thought would be fun to talk about, because I'm having a hard time reading the questions, but when you talked about writing being important, obviously, as someone who's written books, I could not agree more, but I also think that when you write reports, people in the high end really value information and interpretation of information. They may not always agree with you, but they really appreciate other people's interpretation of information. So if you can write reports about your market or write reports or white papers on getting properties ready for sale or things you should watch out for when you're buying a property in San Diego, for example, those are great things to offer people, on your website, on your marketing. Somebody may see an advertisement for a colonial big house somewhere, and they really want something all on one floor, but when you have a report on the 7 biggest factors buyers should consider when investing in San Diego real estate, they don't like the house, but they like the report, and now they've entered into your funnel so that you have something you can connect with. And lastly, I think The writing that Joy talked about is important for getting people's contact information. It's an ethical brat. I'd be happy to send you this report. Where would you like it? Mail address or email address?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, that also research, I feel like, is imperative. Literally, as we were on the call, one of my other team members had a lead that responded to our Altos report, and we call it the Almond Vendor Market Report. I actually picked up that up from Barbara Corcoran because she was one of the first people to have a Corcoran report out in New York. And they responded back, hi, I'm looking for, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, and Bonzel. She hasn't responded to any phone calls or any other emails. So it was rather interesting what medium people actually respond to. Someone here just asked a question, what territories do I have? Cardiff, Solana Beach, Del Mar, La Jolla, Fairbanks Ranch, Mission Hills, and then our mid-tier territories are San Marcos, Rancho Bernardo, Poway, I think I'm missing a few, Del Mar Heights.
Mont Mesa.
Relocating to a new area but has extensive experience in a current market, best way to transfer to the new market. First study.
That's a whole other webinar.
Yeah, I mean, it's essentially I just did that. I spent 26 months building that. The first thing is really studying and trying to learn. I know more than some other agents here in town who take it for granted because they live here full time. And I've also made it important to learn where are all the luxury properties, because there are luxury properties. There was one last year for $29 million up in Paula, which is a good 45 minutes from the normal part of San Diego. So it's just a good idea, too, to get familiar with where are the most expensive properties in your area, even if they're quite a bit of ways away. And anyone can feel free to email me any questions as well if they have, and I can try to get back to them in a couple of days if they've got any further questions on some of the things, because I know we went kind of fast through some of the different resources.
Joy,
we really appreciate your time.
One point, Joy, I think you really made well is that, especially when you're talking with leads from, say, HouseHunt, you have to understand that people are early in the process. And in the old days, when you had an open house and people showed up there, they're probably going to do something in the next, 4 to 6 weeks most times. When you get an internet lead, they have to be nursed and nurtured for a longer period of time. And some of the agents give up way too soon. You've really got to keep them with the information and the value for a longer period of time before they actually, pull the trigger and buy something. And people, I think, really don't make that distinction on web leads or internet leads, that you're getting them so much earlier in the process than you would be otherwise, that you really need to not give up too soon. Don't give up everything else and just focus on every single lead, but you've got to keep them in the pipeline, keep sending them valuable information, because they will, like you said before, that one came back to you after 7 months. How many people would have given up after 4 months or 3 months or 1 month?
It's tempting sometimes. You start wondering of yourself about your system, but yeah.
Right. So I thought that was a good point.
Thank you. Okay, well, I think we're wrapped up here.
Yes, thank you guys so much for HouseHunt. Thanks you both for this great information. We'll be sure to get the information out to everybody. Really appreciate your time today.
Thank you for having us. Appreciate it. We'll talk later.